2016, Module 5. We're going to begin working with, or Part 5, excuse me. We're going to begin working with parameter queries. And we're going to continue working with parameter queries in Part 5, Part 6, and Part 7. So each of these will show us some different things that we can do with parameter queries. What a parameter query is going to do is it's going to pop up with a question. The question needs to filter your data. So one of the things that we can do is I think of going into a travel agency. If I walk into a travel agency and I tell them I would like to go to Florida and I want to see your rental properties, I don't want them to show me rental properties in Alaska or Nevada or anywhere else except Florida. So we're going to create a query that would pop up and say, enter the state. You would say Florida, and it would only bring in Florida properties. So that's the purpose of a parameter query. Every time the user runs it, they get to choose what the answer is to filter the data. This first one will bring up no records if we leave the parameter box empty and hit enter. So let's take a look at how that would work. We're going to go ahead and get into our Access database. You should be in the Care Center database for this query. All right, we're going to start out with our owners by name, and this was our calculated field. If you don't have this one, you would have had to complete the prior video to create it. So we're going to start here, and I'm going to say copy, and then I'm going to say paste. I'm going to change the name. We're going to call this owner by city. And then I'm going to put parameter no blank. If you will recall, I have been adding extra information onto the query names to help you if you go back to review this file at a later date. Make sure you go into the parameter query and you open that up. We want to go into Design View. We do have our calculated field here, and that's fine, but what we need to do now is we need to go down to our city criteria. When we're dealing with a criteria that we want to pop up and ask a question, we need to put the criteria in square brackets. So I'm going to type a square bracket, and then I want the message that will appear in the box, and I'm going to say type the city, and close my square brackets. Now, when I run my query, this box pops up, and if I type in the value of Cody and hit enter, you can see that only Cody records appear. So what a parameter does is it takes the information that you type in the box and it replaces the square brackets and the message with that information in your criteria row. And so it turns into in this case, an exact match query. All right, so let's save this. And now I want to show you the incorrect way. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to close this one. I want to leave that one alone. And I'm going to actually copy this and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to change this to say incorrect parameter. So we're going to open up the incorrect one. It's asking us for a city. So I'm going to type in Cody. You can see it works. Let's go ahead and go to Design View. This is what a lot of times students will do. They don't put the criteria here. They see this parameter button and they come up here and they type the city and they click OK. So now when I run the query, it does ask the question, but watch the difference. When I type in Cody, it does not filter the data. So what this button is actually designed for is I can specify what type of data is allowed in my query. So if it had to be a date, I could come in here and say date, and then it would not accept anything except a date when you're typing it in. We're not going to get that complex, so you never need to use this button. So you should remember on the incorrect one that when you run it, if it pops up with a parameter, that does not mean it is correct. When you type in a value, if it does not filter the data, you did not do it correctly. So I'm going to save that one and we're going to leave that one alone. We're going to go back into the correct one that does, we said this one was going to return no records if the city is left blank. So with this particular option, if I leave this blank, what you would see as a result is if there were any records that the city field was not filled in. If it was physically left blank, then you would get a return value. But as long as there are cities in every record, if you leave this blank when you click OK, you will not see any records. So in our next module, or a part to this module, we're going to explore how we can change that so that it will include all of the records if it's left blank instead of none.